Welcome to Pegwarmers. I'm Kevin, and I'm here to talk about toys. Today, we are talking about reveals from New York Comic Con. This will be a G.I. Joe heavy episode, but I do plan to touch on X-Men and Ghostbusters. I was about to shoot this episode the way I usually do, and my camera is giving me some crazy error. So while I try and troubleshoot that, I'm shooting this on StreamYard. So hopefully you don't mind. It looks a little different. The coloring is always a little different. The angle is always a little different, but we're moving on from there. Obviously, I'm super excited about all of the G.I. Joe announcements. First up, you can't not talk about the polar bear in the room. Mass Device Snake Eyes with the polar bear. This thing is nuts. G.I. Joe is going crazy with all the animals, and I'm a sucker for Joes with pets. Granted, the polar bear isn't really Snake Eyes' pet, but it's still really cool. I was talking to my buddy Michael Bro over the weekend at a toy show we were vending at, the Raiders of the Lost Toys toy show in Woodbury, New Jersey. And we were talking about the zoo that Hasbro is creating with several dogs now, the hog, the birds, the monkey, and the polar bear. Like it's pretty impressive. And so this Mass Device Snake Eyes, based on the cartoon show, he comes with the glowing hands from touching the radioactive element. He comes with element canisters for the Mass Device, for carrying the elements back. He comes with the polar bear. The polar bear has the hurt paw, the regular paw, a trap. Just a ton of great stuff. I feel like this Snake Eyes has gotten a lot of love because the cartoon version of Snake Eyes got a figure in the Ultimates from Super 7, not with the glowing hands, but they made the glow-in-the-dark figure with the Woodsman's dog sled, right? So this is definitely a version of Snake Eyes that's getting a lot of love. It's definitely a version I could see them doing someday in the Super 7 O-Ring line. Cool. I mean, they're doing a great job with it. I have been trying to backpedal a little bit on how much classified stuff I'm buying, but this I got to get. The polar bear is amazing, and Snake Eyes is cool. I don't really need a 30th version of Snake Eyes, but, this isn't a bad one. I'm sure he'll be pretty expensive because definitely a deluxe figure here. I also love that he comes with the Snow Job Blaster in a black and gray color scheme. I think that looks really cool. The next Joe we have to talk about is Footloose. Footloose is one of the best generic infantry guys Hasbro's ever done for G.I. Joe. That original figure with the leaves on his helmet and the M16 and the Law missile launcher and the backpack and everything. It's just great loadout, awesome looking figure. And I'm really looking forward to this one. I want to see the leaves better. The digital render made it a little hard to see how leafy that helmet is. And the Law is huge, maybe too big. I'm interested to seeing how he carries that. The other one had a pretty small, tube bazooka kind of thing. This guy's got a massive, massive weapon. So waiting to see the helmet on and see what the leaves look like on that. But I think it'll be hard to pass up on Footloose. Next up, we've got the 60th anniversary firefighter figure. The G.I. Joe 60th anniversary line has been doing more traditional military role type figures like a Marine sniper, action soldier, just a generic G.I. Joe, more like the original 12-inch, but in modern equipment, not doing, guys with code names. And so we've got here a firefighter, which is definitely based on a 12-inch figure from somewhere in the mid to early 2000s. And I think it's a great looking figure. I definitely plan to pick one up for my nephew. He's going to have to wait a couple years before he's old enough to play with a toy like this. But his dad's a volunteer firefighter. Same nephew I was saying I wanted to get a 60th anniversary Marine if they do one that's not the female sniper. If they do like a male traditional Marine figure, I'd love to get that for my nephew because his dad, who's now a volunteer firefighter, is a retired Marine. The Jaws of Life look amazing. I don't know if they're the same Jaws of Life that came with Ripper or they're redesigned. I never looked at the Ripper figure that closely to see. Didn't, do the comparison yet. But he comes with lots of tools and the tanks and the mask. He just looks really, really cool. The next thing to talk about is the Cobra Outpost with Alley Viper. I may have the name wrong here. It looks like an outhouse. This is not my joke. I am totally lifting that from other people. I think it was somebody on the Pegwarmers Discord channel that actually sent me the Outpost joke. It's loosely based on the little blue playset from the 80s, the Cobra Outpost. You can tell it has similar, like, little hydraulic legs for it and stuff like that. It comes with a machine gun, and it comes with a custom Alley Viper, a new paint scheme for Alley Viper. I think it's great for them to do repaints of the Army builders. I'm not dying to own this one because I don't really care about the Outpost. I don't really need playsets for this line. I already have 2 of the regular Alley Vipers, but he does look pretty cool. I like the digital camera being on the shield and everything. I think my one gripe about the figure versus, like, him coming with a playset, I wish he came with some sort of medium-sized gun. He has, like, a pistol. There's the giant, like, 50 cal that goes with the playset, but he doesn't really have like an assault rifle, medium-sized weapon for him to carry. He's either got to carry this giant, heavy, emplacement type gun or just the pistols. And I kind of just want the Alley Viper and, discard the base. But, we'll see. This may be one I skip. It's a cool looking Alley Viper, though. They got me there, right? Like, I don't need the Outpost, but I like the Alley Viper. It's kind of like, I don't really need another Snake Eyes, but the Polar Bear is really cool. They know what they're doing at Hasbro. I fully admit I have not seen the reveal panel. I just saw the pictures. So if they've answered things that I'm asking, or I have something wrong, like the title, the label, anything like that, I apologize. The next batch of stuff, though, those are the new classified stuff they revealed. The next batch are the retro carded stuff, and this is really where I'm at. This is the line I really want to collect. I wish this was, like, really churning figures out, and it kind of is now. So it's one of the reasons why I want to take a step back from the classified stuff and really focus on the retro card, because I just like the retro stuff better. They're doing Viper. Classic Cobra Army builder. You need Vipers. I have a few Vipers from the original releases earlier in this line. This Viper looks much closer to what I really want. This Viper's blue side pieces kind of come in closer than the vintage figure, the way I picture it. And I don't know if that's to try and differentiate the 2 helmets a little bit further away from Cobra Commander. Because Cobra Commander and the Vipers have similar, like, blue over helmet, silver face shield. So I don't know if trying to have these little, like, tusk pieces or helmet sideburns, helps differentiate that at all. But other than that, and that's super minor, I think he looks really good. I'd like to grab 2 of those possibly to bolster the ranks of Vipers in my collection. And they just look great. My one other nitpick with the Viper is his gun is not the Viper rifle. And the Viper rifle from that original figure is one of the coolest rifles in the entire GIJoe toy line. It's one of my favorite accessories. I love that weapon, and the one that they're packing with him is not good enough. Next up, Retro Rock and Roll. Now, when Rock and Roll came out, the update they did was really cool. He's heavy metal. He's got his, rock and roll fingers. He's got tattoos all over the place. He's got a modern looking helmet. He's cool. He's really neat, but he's not really what I wanted. This version is so much closer to what I wanted. I kind of wish we could have gotten a more traditional helmet for him. This helmet does have the same, like, texturing and the little, like, mount for night vision goggles or whatever. It's not a deal breaker, that helmet, but he does have a much more traditional uniform, just sort of the olive drab, sleeves rolled up. He's still got the bandoliers and everything. He's a nice upgrade, or a nice shift to the kind of the decorations I want. I did already buy the other Rock and Roll, though, because I had no idea that the retro collection was really going to take off the way it is. And this is where I'm starting to get nervous about buying too many classified guys, because I'd rather have the retro look for almost all of them. So I will probably definitely get this Rock and Roll. I don't know what I'm doing with my other Rock and Roll, if I will keep him or I will get rid of him, because I want a more traditional team if I'm going to collect in this scale. That's just me. The next release they talked about was the Retro Mindbender. I think this is a great idea. Not everybody got Mindbender when he came out. Some people were unhappy with the fact that he didn't have the silver symbol on the back of his cape. The original one came with a lot of extra accessories because he was a con exclusive. This one is stripped down a little bit more. Maybe his weapons are a little bit more traditional. I can't quite remember how many of these are repaints from that first figure, if there's anything new here. I might pass on this one solely because I have the other one, And when he's displayed on a shelf, the silver logo on his back doesn't really matter to me. I prefer the one with the silver logo, but they're just so similar. I don't think it matters to me. I'd really need to see good side by side comparison images to decide it was worth spending the money to get a duplicate, or a more correct version. The first one was good enough in my books. So we had 4 new releases for classifieds shown off, 3 new retro figures shown off, and then some name-only reveals. Darklon is getting a figure. Destro's cousin is getting a figure. Iron Grenadiers are popular. We've seen them do several figures from that subgroup. I still am a little surprised we don't have the gold head Destro yet. We do have Iron Grenadier figures. We do have Metalhead. We got somebody else, I think. I think they did at least one other guy from that group. So we're getting Darklon. Interesting figure. Definitely spreading out the character rollout to, get some of those like mid-80s years. Is he 88 or 89, something like that? Darklon's an interesting figure because he was heavily inspired by the Predator, but they dropped the dreadlocks from the original sculpt because they couldn't figure out how to manufacture him. So he's a weird-looking dude, and it'll be interesting to see him with the classified level of detail and paintwork. Next up, Snake Eyes version 4. This is the one that I always feel like is the paintball version. He's got the big goggles. He's dressed in blue and black. They kind of brightened up his color scheme some. He came with the bright orange swords. That's what everybody remembers. I liked that Snake Eyes as a kid. I had version 3 and 4. They seem to be holding off on the knife cross version of Snake Eyes, probably because they know it's the coolest version of Snake Eyes that isn't the iconic version 1 and version 2. So they're probably holding it for way later down the line. But this version is fun, and a lot of people remember it, and we definitely have a lot of the Pixel Dan fans, like the people that are looking for weird stuff in G.I. Joe, kids that grew up more in the 90s, that want those retro rad kind of figures. And this Snake Eyes fits right into that with the bright weapons. It'll be interesting to see what they do, because I don't think they're going to give him orange swords, or at least not orange blades. So it'll be interesting if they do orange wraps on those. If he's going to get any kind of a backpack, is his gun going to be orange? So we'll have to wait and see what they do there. But I think I think it was inevitable to get this version of Snake Eyes. We're down to like Ninja Force maybe, which is not the best design for him. And that version 3 with the knives crossed on his chest that I can think of off the top of my head that we still, really need. There's a lot of variations out there, and there's a lot of other things they can sneak in or just design something all new. We've often seen over the years them sort of recreate the version 2 look with something a little different. During Joe versus Cobra era, we got a version 2-ish Snake Eyes, but had a lot of extra straps on it, right? The movie Snake Eyes from the first batch of movies, the Rise of Cobra, it had the lips molded on, but that looked very much like a version 2 Snake Eyes. So, there's variations on an idea that they can definitely play around with. The last of the name-only reveals is a true Pegwarmer. We've already got Raptor. We've already gotten Chuckles. Now we're getting Crystal Ball. What a weirdo. We're getting Crystal Ball. He's going to have his Hypno Shield, I'm sure. I hope it's lenticular. I can't imagine it being something else. Don't skimp on me, Hasbro. I am also very curious what his weapons will be like. The Hypno Shield was a little cheap. And it was fun as a kid, but he didn't come with a pistol. He didn't come with any way of fighting. He could only hypnotize guys. I really think he needs to come with at least a pistol, and I would like some kind of wicked-looking dagger. I just think he's such a weird character, the seventh son of the seventh son, Rasputin kind of stuff. So I think he needs like a lightning bolt dagger or something really weird. The Game of Thrones cat's paws dagger, the Valyrian steel. He needs something in that vein to kind of finish him off so he could fight when he doesn't have the shield, or if he gets in a scenario where he can't hypnotize the polar bear, right? You might have to shoot at it or stab it with a knife or something. Anyway, I'm interested to see what they do with Crystal Ball for sure. So, who's your favorite G.I. Joe announcement, huh? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm dying to know. Did you go to New York Comic Con? It's the kind of thing that I feel like I should go to one of these years. It's not that far away, but it seems so busy and so expensive that I just have never gone. I did have an opportunity one year. I got kind of asked if I wanted tickets, and it just wasn't going to work out timing wise to be away from the family. So I didn't go, but I would love to go someday, and maybe it'll happen, but it's not in the cards right now. The next big reveal that I want to talk about is the X-Men 97 style Sentinel. So we've had a lot of great Sentinel figures over the years. The original Toy Biz line had a Sentinel, not really to scale, a little bit derpy, but it was fun. And then Hasbro made a big Sentinel to go with their 3 3/4 inch line that was still not really in scale with Marvel Legends, but was closer. Then they did the HasLab version. Very cool, comic book styling. But now we are getting the cartoon version of the Sentinel. It looks a lot more like the video game Sentinels that we, used to beat up in the arcade game. Super cool, super big, little bit tricky. I was talking to somebody again at that toy show, one of the people that were shopping it, and he was telling me that his whole display is based on the comic book characters. Now he's going to get this Sentinel because he missed out on the HasLab one. I get that. I feel your pain. But I think this is a really cool Sentinel, and it's neat that it's going to be at retail. It's got some blasts. It's got a battle-damaged head, which is a very iconic image from the X-Men 97 cartoon show. So I think it is really cool and a great idea for Hasbro to, kind of cash in on the current popularity of the X-Men and the rebirth of the cartoon series. So I'm really excited for anybody that collects Marvel Legends or X-Men figures. This thing, it should be beautiful when it's released. When there's something strange in your neighborhood, who you gonna call? Ghostbusters. The next big thing is the Ecto-1, Ecto-1A HasLab. All right, we don't have our Dragonflies yet, but they're on to the next HasLab. At least it's not a GIJoe thing. Let the GIJoe fans relax for a minute. This thing looks fantastic, and if I had a place for a 6-inch Ecto-1 or a 6-inch Ecto-1A, I would get it. I have the Mattel Ghostbusters, and I backed their Matty Collector Ecto-1 years ago, which did not fund. That failed. I don't think this one's going to have a problem. We'll see. I think it's the right time. I think, Ghostbuster fans and the HasLabs and all that stuff is successful enough that this could really work out. And it's super cool. I don't know why anybody would buy the basic level package, though, which is just the Ecto-1, unless they're buying 2. And then you buy the deluxe one to get the 1A parts, and then a second basic package to get a second Ecto-1, so you can have Ecto-1, Ecto-1A. They have swappable roof racks. There's removable stickers for the 1A, changing the wheels out. So it really can make a pretty much screen accurate Ecto-1 or Ecto-1A. Comes with the Librarian Ghost. Comes with Slimer. It has the gurney for all of the proton packs to go on, which is fantastic. The deluxe set comes with the 4 Ghostbusters in their Ghostbusters 2 charcoal outfits. They all have new head sculpts, so you get new facial expressions with those figures, not just repaints of the previous releases, which that is really cool. That was not really something Mattel did with their line. You also get the Ghostbusters 2 mug and balloons for the kid accessory and the dancing ectoplasmic toaster. All of those are great accessories. The 1A looks really cool. I think if I only displayed one, that's the one I would display. I'm a little leery about the decals. They're not stickers, they said. They're like reusable decals to put the hazard stripes and things on it. I'm wondering how well they stick and how well they come off. Are they like color forms? Are we going to find that they like peel off later? I hope not. I want it to be awesome. I love they built in a USB port on it, so you don't even have to keep the batteries in it. You could just power it via USB if you want. Like, that's some smart thinking. That's some thinking ahead, because everybody that has a HasLab is worried about the batteries corroding in them at some point. I don't need the lights really on most of my vehicles, like the His Tank. It's cool, but it doesn't really need them. The Ecto-1, though, man, and the Ecto-1A, having the sirens light up, having the little scroll boards on the side light up, that is really cool. That is where lights and sound actually has a part. It's like if you make Kit from Knight Rider, it needs the flashing lights. I don't necessarily need headlights on my GIJoe vehicles or a light up cockpit. But the Ecto-1, that is awesome. And then as an extra bonus, they're making a Louis Tully figure in his jumpsuit, in a spare Egon jumpsuit, based on the end of Ghostbusters 2, if it reaches its minimum goal in the first 2 weeks or whatever parameters they set up. And that is a really nice like pot sweetener, right? They're not doing the tiers on this one, which I'm glad. I feel like the tiers are really tough. There's people that are kind of heartbroken. They feel like only the value is achieved if it meets a certain tier, and then sometimes you don't get that tier. This is cool. You know what you're getting besides the Lewis on the day you back it, and you can wait till towards the end of that first 2-week thing and kind of have a feeling for it if he's the make or break point for you. He looks so good. The sculpting on him, he looks just like Rick Moranis making a silly face. I love everything about it, but I'm not going to buy it. It was super cool. I would love to have it, but I have an Ecto 1. I have from the Kenner line, I have the retro reissue of that. I've got one from one of the modern movies. I got the new one for the 3 3/4 inch figures when the O-Ring Ghostbusters come out. I got enough Ecto 1s. I don't have a Kenner Ecto 1A, and I wouldn't mind getting one someday. And that's probably why if I bought this, I would want the deluxe set and display it as the Ecto 1A. But I am going to pass on it just because I don't have all my Ghostbuster stuff out on display currently from the Kenner line, and that stuff is super nostalgic, and I love it. And I, would kind of rather have that taking up space than the Ecto 1A, even though it looks phenomenal. It's super cool, though, for Ghostbuster fans that they're getting some love for that movie. I'm really happy with Hasbro that they're doing this, and what a great reveal for Comic-Con, even though it did kind of get leaked right beforehand. Some really cool announcements. I'm very excited for all this stuff. I want to know what your guys' thoughts are in the comments about all of this stuff. It is fantastic news, I think, on all fronts here. Do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so, share this video with a toy collecting friend. If you want to support the channel further, consider joining us on Patreon. For a small monthly fee, you get access to bonus videos. If you're on the second tier, you can be part of the Discord channel and be part of our little inside conversations about episodes and what we're collecting and things like that. Thanks so much for hanging on the peg with me.